Welcome to the Suga Show, everybody! Right hand, boom down.
Lots of weed, almost 90% in win percentages, and a 63% knockout rate, all while weighing just 135 pounds. Sean O'Malley is him. For real, he might only be coming up as one of the hottest prospects in the MMA, but take it from us, Suga is here to stay. So what's this skinny stoner boy with a one-punch KO all about? Stick around to find out. You shouldn't feel bad for not knowing so much about Sean O'Malley, seeing that he hasn't been in the game that long. That's definitely hard to believe, particularly if you've caught a glimpse of him dealing brutal knockouts to his opponents. Suga hits like a veteran. For straight-up facts though, this dude only just made his promotional debut in December 2017. That match was against Terrian Ware at the Ultimate Fighter 26 finale, and if you had any doubt, yes, O'Malley won the fight. However, prior to that match, he had only had less than 10 career fights, including 5 in his native Montana and some in North Dakota, before eventually getting a crazy highlight reel knockout over David Nuzzo. That's right, he already had that killer knockout before even making it to the big stages. That win over Nuzzo kind of brought a lot of people's attention to him, and soon after, O'Malley earned a spot on Dana White's Contender Series 2 to face off against Alfred Khashoggian. And guess what? He won that match with yet another insane knockout, and this time it was only in the first round. Winning with knockouts is hard enough, but doing it while looking so tiny is something that should be studied.
What'd you say to Dana at the end there?
I said, welcome to the Sugar Show.
The win against Khashoggian was the final step that Sean needed to take to get a UFC contract, something he had dreamed of for most of his life. Growing up in Montana, USA, Sean kind of always had sports around him as he grew up with 3 siblings who all played sports at one point or the other in their lives. His brother Michael was a star football and soccer player during his days at Capitol High School. His other brother Daniel played baseball, football and basketball, while his sister Michaela was also a top-level basketball and volleyball player for her high school. Needless to say that the O'Malleys have very athletic genes in them, but UFC wasn't exactly the dream sport for Sean. And you can't really be surprised at that, since he seemed to be perfect at whatever sport he played. In high school, Sean played basketball, football and baseball, and excelled at all 3 sports. As a matter of fact, he was so athletic that Sonny Silverthorne, who is a friend of the O'Malley family and a youth football coach, once said, "I think if Sean wanted to be a ski jumper in the US Olympics, he would be there because it doesn't matter what you put on him, in him, he's gonna do it. Because that's how he is." However, Sean had a bad attitude that once resulted in him being kicked out of his high school basketball team during his sophomore year. To be frank, he was more or less of a school prankster, which resulted in him spending a lot of time serving in-school suspensions. It was during these troubled teenage years that he began to develop an interest in mixed martial arts, and just as Silverthorne had said, Sean immediately became good at mixed martial arts just as soon as he started dabbling in it. He did so well as a fighter in his hometown of Montana that in a little while he got an opportunity to live and train at the MMA lab in Arizona. It took a bit of consideration before he finally made the move because he didn't want to leave his family, but as soon as he was able to make that decision, he hit the ground running. Setting his heart on becoming a PPV fighter in the UFC, he improved gradually and steadily until the fight against David Nuzzo, where O'Malley put up a performance that caught the eyes of everyone. Since that fight and making his UFC debut in December 2017, O'Malley has cemented himself as one of the best young prospects in the game. His second UFC match came just 3 months after his debut and was against Andrei Sokomthath, who everyone viewed as another of the up-and-coming UFC stars at the time. Not like it mattered to Sean though, as he won the fight by unanimous decision despite injuring his foot in the 3rd round. At that point, everyone in the UFC was starting to realize that the franchise had something really special on their hands, but suddenly, it all seemed to be going down the drain. Sean failed an anti-doping policy test in October 2018 and got suspended for 6 months by the NSAC after testing positive for ostarine. This suspension resulted in him missing out on a UFC 229 match against Mexican bantamweight fighter Jose Alberto Quiñones. His suspension ended in March 2019, but before he could get up to speed for his 3rd UFC fight, O'Malley failed yet another test and was again suspended for 6 months by the USADA. Do the math, and that meant Sean O'Malley had missed out on almost 2 years of professional fights over drug tests. And remember, he only had just 2 fights on the big stage at this point. Ordinarily, for most young and rising fighters, being out for so long would signal the end of their career or a steep decline in their abilities, but not Sean O'Malley. As soon as he was eligible to get into the octagon again, O'Malley finally got to face Jose Alberto Quiñones at UFC 248 on March 7th, 2022, and he completely flattened the Mexican, winning by TKO in the first round, defeating El Teco and Sean his first Performance of the Night award, and from there, he was on his way to the very top. In the couple of years that followed, he faced off against the likes of former WEC bantamweight champion Eddie Wineland, Marlon Vera, Thomas Almeida, Chris Moutinho, Rolian Paiva, Petr Yan, and Pedro Munoz. In these fights, Sean O'Malley won majorly via TKOs and knockouts, amassing 4 Performance of the Night bonus awards and 2 Fight of the Night awards. The only opponents he wasn't able to defeat were Petr Yan at UFC 280, whom he won via split decision, Pedro Munoz at UFC 276, whom Sean accidentally poked in the eye, resulting in the match being declared a no contest, and Marlon Vera at UFC 252, which was his only loss. This stellar run of victories put O'Malley's professional record at 18 matches, 16 wins, and 1 loss, with 12 of the wins being by knockout. How impressive is that? Outside of the UFC, Sean also competed in Quintet Ultra as a member of Team UFC during the same time frame. At the Quintet in December 2019, Sean submitted Takanori Gomi with a guillotine choke in his opening round. Subsequently, he was submitted by Hector Lombard with an ankle lock before getting eliminated in the next round. He also got into the 155-pound advanced no-gi division of Grappling Industries Phoenix in September 2020 and finished 3rd in a 7-man division. Sean's only loss in the Grappling Industries came against the eventual winner of the tournament, Robert Degley. Having come such a long way from the football-playing kid in Montana to a UFC rising star, O'Malley finally got the chance to go for UFC Bantamweight Championship glory against Aljamain Sterling, and you already know he came ready. The much-anticipated match took place in August 2023 at UFC 292, and it was one fans will never forget. Sterling was coming off 3 straight UFC Bantamweight title defenses, which was a new record for the division. But that didn't matter much to O'Malley. Starting off with some lateral movement throughout the first 5 minutes to make Sterling impatient, O'Malley was able to bide his time and wait for the tiny window where Sterling would make a mistake. And the moment did come. Early in the second round, Sterling thought he had finally marked O'Malley's timing and footwork, which resulted in him overextending his left hand. Next thing, he was off balance, and like an eagle swooping in on his prey, Sean hit a beautiful counter right and found Sterling's chin in the second round to give him a technical knockout and the UFC Bantamweight Championship belt. That victory was, quite frankly, the making of a UFC superstar. But here's the thing, going into that game, O'Malley was injured. According to him in a post-match interview, he had a muscle strain and couldn't grapple or MMA spar, which ordinarily would mean he pulled out of the fight. But guess what? After the victory, O'Malley went on to say, "There was no way I was pulling out of the fight, but I had a muscle strain right under my rib. I could not get taken down." Going into such an important fight with an injury and coming out on top just says all you need to know about Sean O'Malley. He always has been skinny, always been the tiny kid, but Sean's greatest strength is his mind. No matter how difficult, how huge the opponent is, how impossible it looks, he never lets it get in his head. He sticks to his game plan and battles it out till his last breath. With this attitude and doggedness, Sean is definitely going to stay on top of the game for many years to come.